years ago, I was on my way by foot to a meeting with my best friend, and I was running late. Now, I hate running late, and I knew that she'd be angry if I would be. I was on the way to the Vondelpark, and I saw all these people whizzing about on their bicycles. And I thought to myself, why not just ask somebody if I can hop on the back with them? Now, asking for help is something I've always found easy, which sometimes surprises people. But my rule has always been, if I would do it for the other person, I also dare to ask the other person to do it for me. Now, I would do a lot for other people, so this gives me enormous freedom to ask for almost anything. So I stopped this woman. She was in her mid-20s, short brown hair, she had a long vintage coat on, and I asked if I could hop on the back with her. And what she said actually surprised me. She said she lived around the corner, so getting on the back wouldn't be of much use. But she was willing to give me her bicycle so that I could get to the meeting myself. How amazing is that? So she gave me the key, she showed me where her house was, and then she just took off. Now, I went to my meeting, I got there on time, and when I parked the bike back in front of her house later, I left this note on her saddle, asking her to befriend me on Facebook because I wanted to write about how helpful she'd been. And it's this moment that inspired me to start writing about kindness. So for the last 5 years, I've been collecting and writing stories of kindness, about when I was kind to people, but most of all, about when people were kind to me. For example, the time when I was living in San Francisco and I was sobbing my eyes out, overloaded with work stress, walking down the street carrying boxes, and this hipster guy just came up to me and gave me flowers, a small bunch of flowers that he seemed to have just plucked from the side of the road. Or when I was in San Francisco and I saw this beautiful armchair by the side of the road, and this man, who initially was going in the opposite direction, volunteered to help me carry it all the way up the hill with me, by hand. Or the time when I was back in Amsterdam and I asked directions to an older man to a supermarket because I wanted to get some honey for my yogurt. And the supermarket was closed, and this man went to his own home to fetch a second jar of honey that he still had there. Or even a time last week when I went on my big monthly shopping spree, and when I got to the counter, turned out to have lost all my debit cards. I asked if somebody could be of help, and this man paid for my groceries on the spot, trusting that I would, of course, pay him back as soon as I got home. Now, these are just a few of this multitude of interactions that I've had, which taught me that kindness is everywhere, but you have to be open to receiving kindness, and that quite often involves asking a question. Which leads me to my last story. And this time I decided to really really live this message of asking for help when I needed it. As I said, I was living in San Francisco for a while. I had been asked to set up the American division of a thriving Dutch startup. It was an incredible adventure. I was 28, I could move to Silicon Valley. 6 months into it, I was completely lost. And when I turned 29, I made a cardboard sign that said, "Today is my 29th birthday. I would love your wisdom and advice. What must I do or know before turning 30? And I went to Union Square, which is the middle of the city. I sat down in a chair, placed a board next to me in a chair, and I was flooded with response. It was incredible. For the entire day, people that I'd never met came and shared their life stories with me and their life advice. I had a beautiful conversation with a man who said he too had felt very lost and had changed the course of his life after a conversation with his grandparents. And he said, if you ever lose track, just ask your grandmother what you were talking about when you were 10. Because when you're 10, you're not worried about what your spouse may think of you or what your parents may expect of you. Other advice ranged from buy a high-power microscope because a world will open itself in front of your eyes. To a man who just stood in front of me and said, just say yes, just always say yes. Now this is the tip of the iceberg, but until this day, it is the best thing I ever did. In conclusion, my invitation to you, maybe now more than ever, is to remind yourself, even prove to yourself, I'm getting emotional because I want to convey this message so much, is that people are kind. So next time when you're in need of some kindness, dare to ask. Thank you.